Hey, rookies, and welcome back to the Rookie Farmer Podcast. This is the home of the dreamers, the schemers, and the hustlers here in the world of small scale agriculture. If you're new here, I am your host. My name is Alec Smith. I am also the grower, the farmer here at Crop Culture Farm in New Bern, Georgia. We're small scale, 3/4 of an acre market garden selling at farmers markets and selling to chefs here just outside of Atlanta. All right, folks, we are coming at you again with another one of our farm blog episodes. Love really getting to do these. I enjoy getting to just talk with you guys directly, get some feedback, bounce ideas off of you, as well as just give you radical transparency about how things are going at the farm, what's going on within the business, and how it's affecting my personal life, how it's affecting my family. Because I think these are all things that we deal with on a weekly, daily, monthly basis as growers, as farmers. And frankly, there's so much talk out there about the technical side of things that oftentimes we miss the lifestyle perspective of that. But the reality of it is you can be the best carrot grower in the world, but if your home life sucks because you're so dedicated to the farm, then does it really matter at the end of the day? So we want to be able to be the best carrot grower we can grow and be the best dad that we can be the best husband that we can be, and also not drive ourselves nuts and be headed on a collision course with burnout. But anyways, all that to be said, thank you guys for showing up. Thank you guys for sitting down, riding along in the car, sitting on the tractor, weeding a bed, headed to the farmer's market, whatever it may be. Thank you guys so much. I am beyond grateful for all the people that, for some reason, decide to tune in and listen to the conversations that I have and listen to the ramblings of a madman on these farm vlog episodes. So thank you guys so much. And before we get any further, let me just go ahead and give you this pitch right up here at the top. Just want to remind you that we believe in value for value, which means if this podcast is giving you any sort of value, if you're learning how to become a better grower, if you're being inspired to become a farmer for the very first time, or if maybe you're finding that motivation to take the time off to be the better dad, whatever it may be, if you're finding value in this show, please consider kicking some of that value back our way. We never want to charge for these. We're not going to have premium content. We're not going to put it behind a paywall. We're not going to ask you to sign up for our Patreon just to receive any of our content. And so because of that, we need you to help support what we're doing. So you can go over to Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, and you can kick us $1, kick us $5, $10, whatever you feel like it's worth. Every little bit helps. And if you send in a donation, I will love to give you a shout out on the show. And if you stick a question in the notes with that payment, I will gladly answer it for you guys here. So go ahead and do that. And I am greatly appreciated in advance for all of that. All right. So there's a few things that I want to tackle in this episode. Let me just sort of give you the rundown of what we're going to get into, and then we'll go through and break everything down. So first and foremost, let's give you guys a little bit of podcast updates, talk about what's going on with the podcasts as we come to the end of our 2025 first season of the show, and we get ready for season 2 coming in 2026. I've got a few updates, a few things that I want to talk to you guys about and get some feedback on. Next, we'll get into our farm updates. Let's talk about the things that are happening here at Crop Culture Farm, how it's impacting my life, how I'm winning and how I'm losing on the farm. Then we'll talk a little bit about the farmers market. What are some updates going on at the Athens market that we're part of? Farmers markets are such a huge part of the world of small scale ag. And I think it's really cool that we get to talk about sort of the ins and outs, the highs and the lows and all the buffaloes of being at that farmer's market. Because like I said earlier, there's so much technical talk out there. There's so much talk about what's happening in the field that we oftentimes miss the fact that all of that field work can happen, but if you can't execute well, if you can't sell well at a farmer's market, or you can't move product in a CSA, or you can't sell to chefs, then it's sort of all for nothing. And so I love giving you guys the farmer's market updates. and hopefully you're gaining some interesting insights. You're getting some unique perspectives on how you can sell from someone who's figuring it out every step of the way, right here with you. And then for this special episode, as we're now kind of in the second week of September and summer has more or less come to the end, we have the autumnal equinox happening in just a week or so. I wanted to give you the rundown of sort of the winners and losers of summer, the crops that were winners for us and the crops that were losers. But that'll be at the end. But, anyways, back up to the top. So we are wrapping up our 2025 first season of the podcast. Obviously, episodes will be coming out on this sort of modified schedule every other week for the remainder of the year. You'll still be getting fresh vlog episodes scattered in amongst those interviews. We have some really, really amazing interviews coming up. I'm really excited about that. But just like in farming, how I'm already preparing for the things that I'm going to be growing and harvesting and selling in October, November, December. We're already looking forward to the 2026 season. I'm trying to conceptualize what I want it to be. What are some themes that we want to tackle? Who are some people that we want to talk to? What are some adjustments and things that we want to do with the show? And with that, I want to throw a couple ideas out to you and ask for some feedback as our listeners. You're part of this community. You are fellow rookie farmers. And it is so important that you guys who are consuming this content, you guys that are following along with our journey, that your input is given so that we can give you exactly what you guys want to listen to. I don't want to just assume what you want and make what I want. This is collaborative. This is an effort that I want to create amongst the group of us. So please consider shoot me a DM on Instagram at Crop Culture Farm or at the Rookie Farmer Podcast, or you can comment on this YouTube video down below. Shoot me an email at cropculturefarm@gmail.com. And we would love to get your feedback. We'd love to know what you love about the show, what you wish was better, what you wish was different, who you would love to see us interview. Maybe you're thinking, hey, I want to be interviewed. Shoot me an email, whatever it may be. Let's connect so that we can build this Rookie Farmer podcast community. But with that being said, there's a couple of things that I would love to shift for the 2026 season. I had a phone call with a fellow grower who is also an avid listener of the podcast a couple weeks ago. And he was telling me, he's like, man, listen, I love the show. I really enjoy the conversations you're having, but they're just not long enough. They're 45 minutes, they're an hour, and man, I'm just left wanting more. I want some long interviews. I want some 2-3 hour long ones where you're just sitting down and really getting into the weeds, no pun intended, on all of these different aspects of growing. And I kind of left that conversation thinking, you know what, you're right. Most of the shows that I listen to, a lot of the podcasts I'm listening to are not quick little 45-minute, easily digestible episodes. Oftentimes they are 3 hour, 4 hour long. Shoot, I saw a 10-hour long podcast the other day, and that one didn't get consumed all in one fell swoop. That had to be broken up over multiple days. But in this new world of sort of digital media, there's no time limit to what we can do. And so if you are interested in more long form content where I maybe sit down with a farmer, I sit down with someone in the industry or whatever it may be, and we just go. There's no time limit. We just unpack everything in a particular topic. We go back and understand why are they farming and all of the nuances of what goes along with that big why question that we oftentimes ask people. But if that's something that you're interested in, please let us know, because I love that content. And frankly, with most of these interviews, I keep it to an hour because I'm trying to be cognizant of people's time. I want to be respectful. And we're not able to compensate people for their interviews. They gladly give up their time so that we can create this amazing content to give to you guys. And so I don't want to be overly greedy and take up 3-4 hours of their time. But if there's people that have time to kill and they are really digging into this conversation, then I want to just keep rolling And most of the time, when these podcasts sort of come to that hour and 10-minute long conclusion that they tend to do, I always feel like there's so much that we didn't get to hit on. There's always questions in my notes that I didn't get to ask, or there's details that we didn't get to unpack a little bit more. So, like I said, if that's something that you're interested in, please consider shooting me some feedback and letting me know. And with that, on the sort of style and direction of this show for the 2026 season, what is sort of is the focus that you want? Do you want to hear more technical content? Do you want to hear from farmers how they farm and which seeders do they pick and what seeds are they growing and what are the techniques that they use to do this and that, whatever? Do you want to hear about how they set up their wash pack? Do you want to hear about their farmers market strategy? Or do you want more lifestyle content? I feel like that's one thing that I bring to the table that there isn't as much out there. I'm seeing more and more of it over the last few months. Um, More people are taking the time to really talk about parenthood and what it means to be a spouse or a partner or a friend or a family member while also doing this very unique, very challenging, very nuanced occupation or hobby or venture or lifestyle that is small scale farming or farming in general. So do you want more on the technical side or do you want more of the lifestyle side? Or if you want both, then yeah, we'll find some people that maybe we're not necessarily trying to glean a bunch of technical experience from, but we just want to kick back. I just want to have a chat with a farmer and essentially let you guys be a fly on the wall as we unpack the real struggles, the wins, the losses of our farming seasons. So once again, shoot us a DM, shoot me an email. If you have my number, those few of you out there, shoot me a text, whatever it may be. Tell me what you want to hear on the show. All right. And just last but not least, let me just remind you that if there is a podcast that you listen to that you would love to see me be a guest on, maybe it's a homesteading podcast or it's a business podcast and we running a business, we're an entrepreneur, whatever it may be, and you think that we might be a good fit, please try to connect us. Tell the host of that show, hey, you should reach out to Alec at the Rookie Farmer Podcast. I think he'd be a really great guest. We're always looking for ways to promote the show and that sort of cross promotion. I can have someone on, they can have me on, so on and so forth, is a really good way to do that. And frankly, I kind of miss being on that side of the podcast microphone. I love asking questions. I love digging into things, but I also love being asked a really good, meaty question and then given the opportunity to just go with it. So reach out to those other podcast people, try to connect us. We would love to get on some other shows to promote the Rookie Farmer Podcast. All right, guys, we have amazing guests coming up over this year. There's already people I'm talking to. We're in the confirmation phase of, hey, you want to do an episode? Let's get something nailed down on the calendar. We're going to start recording here soon for the 2026 season. And I'm not going to give you any spoilers on who we're talking to. There's going to be some return guests, some farmers that we talked to this year that we're going to follow up with and see how their 2025 season went. There's going to be some new people, maybe some bigger names that you have heard of, maybe some people that you've never heard of that are just starting for the first time. But I'm really excited for the second season of the podcast. And I know it's only September, but I'm just teasing you guys, sprinkling a little bit to keep you guys hooked. So once January rolls around, you're just salivating, ready for more Rookie Farmer podcast. All right. So enough of that. Let's get into the farm updates. What is going on here at Crop Culture Farm in the belly of the beast here in New Bern, Georgia, out in the field? All right. So if you remember on our last farm vlog episode 7, which man, I can't believe that we're this is episode 8 of those farm vlogs. It's crazy how quickly this goes by, and it feels like I've been doing this forever, or that I also just started. But anyways, I digress. In the last episode, we discussed how I am now solely full-time off of the other farm, and I am providing solely my income through Crop Culture Farm. And that has definitely been a bit of a challenge, to say the least. You know, finances have been fine. I think strategically we picked a time of year when we knew sales were going to be up. It's summertime, it's busy, there's a lot of production happening. And we made that leap at the end of July after having a couple of really good months of sales. And so income wise, things haven't really been too difficult. We're spending a lot more money as we're sort of scaling the business, trying to buy more seed, make sure we have what we need, make sure that we have to have a running tractor, had to spend $400 on a new hydraulic cylinder for the tractor, which I actually got installed today and it's running. So I'm super excited about that, but it's very top of mind. And so it feels like that even though the finances have relatively stabilized, we are spending more than we've ever spent on the business, to say the least. And so, but I'm not really necessarily feeling stressed because we've been able to squirrel money away, set money aside when times have been good, so that we can have operating expenses throughout the slower months of the year. But what's been the biggest struggle has honestly just been the day to day grind. If you're not used to working from home, if you're not someone that wakes up every day and doesn't have to go put on work clothes and doesn't have to make sure that they're presentable so they can go to another job and interact with other human beings outside of their home, you may not understand the grind that is like waking up and work starts. You wake up and you look out the window and boom, there it is. It's right there. And I knew that was going to be a challenge. I knew there was going to be a hurdle that I had to get jumped over for the aspect of working from home every single day, seeing the farm every single day. It's like, oh, you again, you're out here. I've looked at that bed of carrots for 14 days straight and they're just now starting to pop. Things just seem to happen a lot slower, not because they're actually happening slower, but just because I'm seeing them every day. So those incremental changes that maybe you'd miss it if you were gone for 2 days over at your other job, suddenly you're just right there in the middle. Everything is growing. You're seeing it every single day, multiple times a day. And that grind has been a bit of a challenge. There's been a lot of days that I've wanted to end early. It's been a lot of days that I wanted to wake up late and get out there late. But the reality of it is, this is what we signed up for. We wanted to be able to run our own farm, and I wanted to be able to exclusively do this as my sole source of income and as the business that I chose to run. And now I'm getting to live the dream. Like, I don't want to ever negate the fact that I am doing exactly what I love to do. Not everyone gets the opportunity to actually fulfill their business dream. I know so many people that have tried to start businesses and they failed and they've had to move on. And I can confidently say I'm standing here, I'm providing an income for myself, working on my own farm in my own business full time. And we're paying the bills in a year and a half since we started, almost 2 years since we started the business, which I would say is a huge success. And I never, never want to belittle what that is. But in all reality, is in that day to day slog of being out there on the farm, sometimes you can lose that perspective. And sometimes you need to be able to step away to appreciate what you have and to appreciate the life that you've built for yourself. And that is another part that I've been trying to do through this process of going full time. Now that I'm here all day, every day, the hours have become even longer just because I can. Because if the sun's up, I can work. If the sun's down, I can do computer work. If it's a Saturday, it's an opportunity to work. If it's a weekday, I can squeeze a little bit of this in before we have to go to this event, whatever it may be. And one of the things that my wife has helped me with, and I think honestly, just things serendipitously work out this way, is that this summer, I, in lieu of being able to take big, long family vacations, we took a small vacation at the beginning of the summertime. I'm trying to prioritize doing things just for me, doing fun things that I like to do, completely unrelated to the farming, things that require me to spend a little bit of money, have a good time. And like I said, serendipitously, it worked out that over the last 30 days, I went to 3 different professional sporting events, totally free. I had someone bought me a ticket to this one, and this one we were somehow awarded free tickets, and then on another one, someone was like, "Hey, I'm a season ticket holder. I'm not going to the game this weekend. Do you want to go? Here's the tickets. Go have fun." And so, even though I have been like learning to deal with the day-to-day grind, I'm also trying to prioritize having fun, going out with friends, getting a couple of drinks, enjoying a sporting event. One of them actually required me to go out of town. Me and my dad, we went and drove to another state to go enjoy banana ball, which is actually quite the assault on the senses, if I'm being honest. And if you guys really want it, maybe I'll give my honest review of the Savannah bananas. As cool as it is, it's a lot for this old 32-year-old hippie organic farmer, if I'm being honest. But anyways, um, and as much as of a challenge as that's been, it's been really wonderful to be able to take time with both with my family, with my friends, and even by myself, and just breathe, separate myself from the farm, and just focus on enjoying myself. It can feel extremely selfish to do so. I feel that temptation every single time. But the reality of it is this is a huge part of sort of like my mental health, that if I'm just like totally given over to the farm and don't have a moment to breathe, don't have a moment to stop, um, I'm one day I'm gonna just lift up my head and realize, like, who am I? What's life all about anymore? I've just been so consumed with this business. And so that's been a really wonderful thing that I've got to do, is got to enjoy myself. And honestly, I'm kind of ready to be able to get back into a normal swing of just like every day we do this and every weekend we do this, and stop having these crazy travelings and crazy sporting events. But it's fun while it lasted. Another cool thing that we have started doing on the farm is we've added some new crops. Now, as a new grower, as a starting off farmer, I feel like you're kind of always adding crops. You're trying this, you're trying that. Everything's being trialed, everything's being tested as we're trying to figure out what works. What are some niches that we can fill at the market, so on and so forth. But every now and then we sort of bring on a completely new, completely separate growing system into the farm business, whether it's to generate more sales or to increase our profit margins, or maybe to free up some time or to utilize space that we weren't utilizing before. And for us, that has been the microgreens. I honestly never thought I would do it, which isn't that what everybody always says when they're saying, "Hey, look what I finally did." And you're like, "I never thought I would do it, and here I am." But we have decided to go all in on microgreens. Now, for us, all in does not mean we're doing 100 trays a week and we're pivoting our business away from selling greens and roots and fruiting crops and things like that. No, for us, it just means we're not doing it as a little side sort of whenever we're feeling like it, whenever we need a gap filled. No, we're going to actually make this a regular staple part of our farm business. We started crunching the numbers, we started trialing some seeds and some trays and doing things like that to just see if this was something that would fit into our context. We didn't just wake up one day and say, "We're doing this." We trialed, we tested, we got feedback, we talked to our chefs and said, "Hey, I noticed that you have these clamshells of microgreens. Who are you buying them from? What are you paying for them? How many are you going through in a week?" Is if we offered this to you as a producer, as a supplier for them, you know what our quality is, you know our reputation for ensuring that it is the highest quality at a good price and excellent flavor and excellent appearance. With this reputation that we have in your eyes, would you consider giving us that business if we started producing microgreens? And many of them were like, "Oh yeah, absolutely. We will totally start buying it from you." And so after those conversations and crunching the numbers and actually trialing a few trays, we decided, and testing them at the farmer's market, selling them at the market at our table, sort of in the price range we want to hit. We decided that we are going to add microgreens as a regular staple part of our business, um, presumably year round. There's no reason why we can't. And there's a couple of reasons why we've decided to do it. One is we have an opportunity to sort of maximize our restaurant deliveries. One of the issues that can happen sometimes is a chef is willing to buy stuff, but maybe they're only willing to buy $50 worth of stuff or $90 worth of stuff. And man, you would really prefer if that was closer to 150, 200, $300 an order. By adding another thing to the list that is a very valuable, high profit margin crop, we can sort of make the biggest bang for our buck with those deliveries. And it also gives us the flexibility to, if we're missing a green or we have bad germination on a bed of mustard or a bed of baby kale, whatever it is, we can fill in the gaps, whether it's salad mixes or with restaurants or on the table. We can fill in those gaps with microgreens in a pretty quick way. You're looking at 8 to 10, 12 days from planting to harvesting. And so that gives you a lot of flexibility to just throw things in here and there. And we found that that was a niche that had really been unfulfilled at our farmers market. Out of all of the growers, there's 6 or 7 of us, depending on the week, that are like full-time farmers doing this as our livelihood. Only one of them sells microgreens. And it's not like there's another small little microgreens person there also. There's only one farm selling microgreens, and they don't bring very many. And frankly, they're pretty affordable. And I just felt like there was an opportunity that we could sort of carve our own little niche out within that thing. Like, why is there nobody selling microgreens at this market? And for whatever reason, we found that our customers are excited about it. Now, granted, we're just starting. We've only done this 2 weeks. By the time this episode comes out, it will have been 3 weeks of selling these microgreens, and the sales have been relatively steady, selling like 14, 15 clamshells at about $6 a piece. That's roughly about like three and some change an ounce when it all comes out. We're doing like 1.75 of a pound for $6. And we are, we're selling, like I said, 12 to 15 of them both of those weeks, and customers really like it. We have people saying, "Oh my God, I love those microgreens. Last week, I'm going to get some more." So if they're already becoming reoccurring customers this quickly, then as we communicate what they are to new customers, as we just have them on display on the table and people begin to see them week after week, hopefully that can become a pretty good niche for us as well. So yeah, we're going all in on micros. My goal is to do between 8 and 10 trays a week, and let's say the yield on that is roughly, we'll say 8 ounces at roughly $4 an ounce. If we're doing 8 trays, like what's the math on that? It's too late at night for me to do the math in my head, but you're looking at 8 times 8 times 4, it's like $250 a week. That's $1,000 a month that we're adding to the bottom line of the farm. We're adding $1,000 in extra revenue for relatively little infrastructure that have to be added, relatively low time compared to, say, planting arugula, harvesting arugula, washing, bagging arugula. And so if we can do that and we can be successful with that, then yeah, I mean we've added roughly $12,000 to our gross revenue at the end of the year, which is nothing to shake a stick at. That's the difference between paying rent or not, and in a lot of cases. So that's why we've decided to go all in on the microgreens. And one thing that I'm really excited about is we have now decided that we're going with the X wave trays from Modern Grower. Now, I can hear you now saying, "Wait, Alec, you're using another Modern Grower product and you're going to tell us how great it is, blah, blah, blah. Surely you're just, shilling for the company because they send you free stuff and blah, 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 blah." And au contraire, would you be on that? I bought these with my own money. I just want to make that totally clear. Diego didn't send me these for free. Diego, and he offered to, and I was like, "No, man, I need them now. I'm just going to buy them. I want to use them and I want to support the company." So, I purchased the 16 pack of the trays. It was a super great deal. I mean, they got to me super quickly, and God, they're so good. I've used really flimsy, cheap trays in the past, whether it's for as like a bottom tray when you're using it on something like a wind strip that we use for most everything else. I've used some bulkier trays that are really tall or the drainage is bad, whatever it may be. But these X-Wave trays, you can tell like they were designed from top to bottom with micros in mind. They have the little like bubble on top, so when you put one on top of the bottom watering tray, you don't have to lift the tray up to water underneath. There's a lot of really cool features. They're super durable. I'm just now using them, so it's going to take me a few weeks to a few months to really put them through their paces, but I'm really happy with that. And quick little plug, if you wanted to buy those trays or anything else and you wanted to support the show, we now have an affiliate link. So if maybe you don't have the extra cash to donate to the Rookie Farmer podcast, but you still want to support us and you need to buy microgreen seeds, or you need to buy new trays, or you need to buy a sumi soaker, whatever it may be, go to the link in this description, whether it's at the bottom of the YouTube channel or in your podcasting app, and you'll see our affiliate link in there. And I'll make sure that we throw that in there. You guys can click on that link, and then everything that you buy from Modern Grower, we will get a small percentage of. So it's just another way that you can support the show. So please go on over to shop.moderngrower.co and buy all of the farm goodies that you need and help the show out. So there's my shameless little plug that I shoehorned in there on the microgreens conversation. But I'm really excited about those. We'll see how that goes. We'll see what the wins and the losses and the struggles are of microgreens. But right now, I'm enjoying eating them. I'm enjoying selling them. Customers and chefs are enjoying them as well. So there will be plenty more microgreens conversations. I can guarantee you that now that we're doing this, we will be having more of those conversations and interviews with farmers. One that I've already got sort of on the books that we'll be having. And there will be many more conversations in the future in the microgreen space. So if you love microgreens, stay tuned. If you hate microgreens, just hang on, because there's going to be plenty of other stuff to talk about. One last thing in the farm update section that I wanted to cover is a huge struggle that we've had over the last month, and it has been germinating our fall brassicas. My God, has it been a struggle. We started first week of August, kind of how we always plan. Let's get our collards, let's get our kale, let's get broccoli, all of these different things started so that we can be transplanting them about now. For a fact, some of the BC 1611 from Johnny's, the sprouting broccoli that we grow a lot of, got transplanted today, and it was sown that first week of August, just as the crop plan said, just as I was hoping that we would. But it all sort of started when we sowed a bunch of brassicas, and it was still really hot, still really dry. So we sowed everything, we put it under a tree. We got an unexpected huge thunderstorm that night, and suddenly everything got completely washed out. It's a real bummer. I was really hoping that maybe the seeds were still good, maybe they would survive, and they didn't. And unfortunately, because of that, all of our seed starting mix was soaking wet because I did not expect it, so we didn't cover it. It got soaking wet, which meant that the next sowing of seed was in a really thick, sticky, wet soil starting mix. And if you don't know, now you know that when those seeds can't breathe, when that soil mix doesn't have the opportunity to shed water and it just locks onto it and becomes waterlogged, you're not going to get germination. And unfortunately, in some cases, like with our collard greens, we had to sow them times, four times to finally get anything, worth a damn that we could actually plant in, or that we could, grow out to transplant size so that we could plant them out in the field for our fall. So unfortunately, we're like 3 weeks behind on a lot of our fall brassicas, sans broccoli and cauliflower and some cabbage, mostly just because of it seemed that every week that we would do our sowing, there was a problem. First, it was the rain washed everything out. Second week, it was the super wet, sticky mix. Third week is like, all right, we're going to do it the right way. We're going to do it in the seed house, so on and so forth. And then we get hit with like a last little heat wave, and the tunnel just gets cranked up to like 120 degrees in there, and everything just sort of cooked and died. It was way too hot. Nothing germinated, and we moved on. And then finally, within the last 2 weeks or so, most everything has germinated. And funny enough, some of those earlier trays that I just couldn't quite bring myself to dump and redo have eventually germinated in some of these cooler weathers that we're getting here on the East Coast. And so that's sort of been a last little struggle of what's been going on. But overall, it's been a good summer. We had a lot of challenges. We had a lot of wins and losses. We'll get into that here in a minute. But I've been pleased with our summer. We survived. We're full time now. We've learned a lot. And one of the things that we learned that we'll get to here in a second is what is going to be our niche here at the farmers market. So, a quick little farmers market update. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. I want to get to the end here. But we have 100% determined that unless other farmers change their plans or new farmers come in the next season, we are going to focus in on greens. Summer greens is where it's at. There was probably a 2-3 month period. There's not a single head of lettuce. There wasn't a single bag of arugula. There was no kale. There was nothing from probably mid June until now, really, until like the last week or two. There's been almost no greens. And for better or for worse, my dumb rookie farmer self decided that we're just going to keep chugging along. This is what other people do. And so we're just going to keep going. And that has been our saving grace because when everything else started to fail and the fruiting crops that we'll get to in the loser section here in a second, when those things started to fail, having those summer greens on the table and that were in super high demand because nobody else had them was a huge win, a huge success for us. So we're already thinking, we're already taking notes about what next summer is going to look like. And honestly, we may scale back on things like peppers. We may scale back on tomatoes, eggplant, so on and so forth, and focus in more on green. Like, let's get a ton of baby kale in there. Let's do more arugula. Let's get a bunch of other interesting greens that people love. Let's try to do as much lettuce all summer long as we can. Let's nail those lettuce successions. Make sure that we can figure out germinating in the really hot summertime. And let's just crank out some greens all summer long and count the money at the end. It's been a real eye-opening to realize that, like, okay, so most everybody's focusing on their traditional summer fruiting crops. So, let's let them do that. They're great at it. Frankly, they're better at it than I am. They have great product, great growing, and people know them for those particular things, the varieties that they grow. So let's fill this need that everyone has. It's like everyone wants a salad in July. Frankly, they probably want a salad in July more than they want one in October. So let's give the people what they want when they want it. And if we can do that, we can charge a premium because it is a very specialized product, very premium product at that time of the year. And we can sort of keep the farm alive without having to bend over backward to compete with someone who is like 20 times our scale. Yeah. And then the last little nugget here in the market updates has been something that I did it last year. And this is just sort of my personality as a person. I love to share. If I make something, if I've created something that I'm really proud of and that I really enjoy, I want to share it with people. If I have a really good idea, I instantly want to sit down and talk with someone, flush it out, like share with them, see what they think about it. If I make a meal, I never want to just sit and enjoy it. I want to invite friends over. Oh my God, let me make this for you. You please, you need to try this. Tell me what you think. And that just sort of translated over to the farmer's market when there were certain crops that I really, really loved. I'm always like, just, here, I have a second in the container. Like, let me just let you take a bite out of it and just, you can have this one. And I can't remember if it was Jesse Frost or who I heard say this. And I don't think it's some sort of newfangled, reality changing idea, but it's pretty simple. And it's just, you let them try it and they'll buy it. And there's been certain crops that we've had a hard time selling, whether it's because a lot of people know what they are, but maybe they've never had them, or they think they know what it is, but they actually don't know what the difference is between this variety and the one that they're used to. Or maybe it's a completely new product altogether. They don't know anything about it. They've never heard of it. They've never seen it. They don't know what it tastes like, and they don't even know how to cook it. The best way to convert those people into customers and to convert those interactions into sales is to let them try it. First and foremost, we grow amazing greens. We grow amazing things all year long. And I know as well as you know that many of those things taste so much better when they're fresh from the farm than they ever could from the grocery store. If you ever eat a fresh carrot, fresh tomato, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But so many other things also have such a explosion of flavor that you get from the freshness and the the complexities from being grown in healthy soil and being grown organically, not being shipped across the country, that most people have never had this fresh, nuanced flavor before. And so by letting them try it, you're giving them the opportunity to experience something new. And frankly, when they enjoy it, they're far more likely to say, like, I want one. The first thing that really was a game changer for us was with our Hakurai salad turnips. Tokyo turnips, the small golf ball-ish size turnip that is sort of one of the staple crops of the small scale market garden. We grow a lot of them, and most of our market customers are pretty savvy. You know, a Hakurai turnip's not new to them, but for a lot of people, they've seen them, but they're like, they think here turnip, they think the big purple top turnips that their grandmother or their mother just mashed or boiled and made them eat as a kid that wasn't any good. And they've never had, a salad turnip. They've never had this small, really sweet, amazing root vegetable. And so you just take one, it's a good opportunity. If you have one that's got like a big bug hole in it, you cut that off and you chop it into slices and put it nice on a plate on your table. It's a conversation starter. It's an opportunity when people are sort of browsing your booth, but maybe they're not ready to commit. It's an opportunity to sort of bring them in and at least get them to commit to tasting something. And I mean, is that not why we love Costco? Don't we not go for all of the free samples for all this stuff? Like, oh, I'm not going to buy this, but I'm going to try it for sure. And every now and then, maybe you do try it, and you're like, oh, this is amazing. So we're able to sort of bring those people in and engage with them. And we see a huge uptick in sales on products that we do tastings for. We can't do it for everything. And frankly, there's certain things that it's not really conducive to. A pepper would be kind of hard. We did a little bit of that with like our Corno de Toro peppers last year when people didn't know what they were. But our big four that we do this with that really is the biggest bang for our buck is our Hakurai turnips. Funny enough, one of them is our Mizuna greens. We'll do those like really delicate, mild Asian mustards, the Mizuna. And sometimes have had a bag of them loose and I just sort of set it on the table and let people sort of pick one and they eat it and they're like, oh, this is so good. This is really sweet. This is really mild. This is really tender. And oftentimes they'll buy a bag. And it's always like, I've heard of this, but I've never had it before. And now you give them an opportunity to try it, with no risk, no fear. If you don't like it, you don't have to buy it. You just had one little leaf in its most purest, simplest form. And so it's only going to get more flavorful if you saute it or add seasonings to it. But that's been really good. And then our pears and our snap peas. With the snap peas, everyone kind of knows what a snap pea is. And that's less about letting people experience it for the first time. And it's more of like, I'm swimming in them usually when we have them. And so it's like, here's just a little treat. Everybody loves a little snack. And oftentimes they eat one and maybe it's been a long time since they've had a good one. And they eat one and like, oh man, these are so sweet. These are so crunchy. And they'll grab a pint of them and then, we sell a ton of them. And so, yeah. So if you're not offering samples at your table, and your market's cool with it and you're not doing anything that's like really sketchy and like unsanitary, like we do is a clean plate, use a clean knife, all of that sort of stuff. Really consider especially with crops that you're having a hard time selling that you love, that are delicious. Consider offering them as a sample, just raw. Let people experience the intense flavors, the nuanced flavors that is just the raw, unadulterated vegetable or fruit that you're offering, and use it as a conversation starter and use it as a way to convert those conversations into sales. All right. We've come to the end of our podcast in the segment that I am calling our winners and our losers. These are the crops that we have grown this summer that were really wonderful for us, sort of saved us in pinches, or they just produced far and beyond our expectation, or the losers, the ones that succumbed to disease way too early, or never produced what they were supposed to produce, or just didn't cooperate, mostly due to farmer error, if I'm being honest. But these are our winners and our losers. So on the winners list, number one has got to be our arugula. Astro arugula, whether you get it from Johnny's, High Mowing, anybody that has it, Astro is such an amazing variety of arugula. It loves the warmer weather. Like it has no problems germinating in the heat as long as you keep that bed moist. As soon as you direct seed that stuff, you get water on it immediately. Another good opportunity for the Sumi's ogre. That has been our saving grace with our baby greens of the summer. We sow a bed, or we'll have a block of 3 or 4 beds tarped. We pull the tarp back, we get those beds prepped, and then maybe we sow like bed of arugula, bed of baby kale, a bed of beets or whatever, and then we use the Sumi and we just do all of them at one time. It's really light. You don't have to worry about washing out the beds. It's been really wonderful. But as long as you get the water on that arugula immediately and you keep that bed nice and moist, in like 3 days, you have germination. It's insane how quickly it is. It just pops up so quickly, and it's really dense. You can grow it super quick. We're doing 8 rows on a 30-inch bed, which from what I've seen elsewhere may actually be even a little thin compared to some people. I've heard of people doing 10 rows on a 30-inch bed, but somewhere in the neighborhood of like 6 to 8. I think 6 might honestly be better. Gives us a little more breathing room, better to cultivate around. But yeah, between 6 and 8 rows on a 30-inch bed, that's a ton of greens that you're pumping out of there. On a 50-foot bed, you're getting wonderful yields, more than enough to take, 50 bags of arugula to a farmer's market and, selling that at $5 a bag, for a quarter-pound bag. Like you're doing awesome. So arugula was a huge winner for us, and when was one of those big saving graces this summer when we realized like we need to focus in on greens. And sticking in the greens category, baby red Russian kale. It's one of those ones that I did not plan on growing. As much as I enjoy eating it, it doesn't really look like kale. It doesn't have the same texture as most kales. And when I grew it last year, no one really cared. No one really liked it. We were selling bunches of it, and it was just sort of like a meh thing. And we ended up just trying to put it in greens mixes just to move it out of there. And so I was completely uninspired to grow any red Russian kale until one customer brought it up, and he's like, "Oh, if you'd ever grow that, that would be amazing." And obviously I didn't grow it all just for him, but I was like, "Okay, we'll try it." And then it sort of hit me like, what if we did this as a baby green? We're not going to wait all the way until August and harvest these big, huge fronds, and they're going to be really heat stressed. Like, let's just plant it just like we plant our arugula. Let's do it really dense, and let's harvest it young and sell it just as like a bag mix of baby kale. And oh my God, that has become our biggest seller. People like come to the table like, "Oh my God, is there any more kale left? Please tell me you have kale." And unfortunately, we don't. I mean, we're selling out in like sometimes an hour. It's insane. Frankly, I need to grow more. If you're selling out in an hour, there's so much more opportunity to grow it. But yeah, red Russian baby kale has been really great. It's a little more finicky on germination than the arugula is, but once once it germinates, it grows pretty good. We have it in the tunnel right now, but we have a couple of beds outside that we're doing here in late summer, early fall. And they're coming up really good, and I'm really excited to have that. And I think we're getting like 5 cuts off of a bed, which is insane. So we're going through and we're cutting off the bigger leaves and bubbling them and spinning them and drying them and bagging them. Yeah, and we're up to like 5 cuts per bed. Where with arugula, we're lucky to get 2. So not only is it really prolific, but it also just keeps going on and on and on, which is really wonderful. And our last 2 winners have been cucumber and okra. Now, these probably won't be any surprises to anybody who has any experience, but yeah, cucumbers have done great. We had some squash bug issues here with our last succession, which it's a little tease for one of our losers of the year. If you can anticipate what that'll be if squash bugs is a problem. Um, and okra has just been wonderful. It always is. Okra is sort of like the workhorse of the South. For those of you that are outside of the South, and if you can get your customers to get on board, if you can get your customers to eat it, to consider using it, outside of maybe pickling it or frying it, it's such a wonderful crop. It doesn't need a lot of water. It doesn't need a lot of fertility. It loves the sun. It loves the heat. And frankly, on the hotter, warmer day, the hotter, sunnier days is really when it thrives. You almost have to pick it every day. It just keeps jamming. And so, those are kind of been our 4 big winners of the year. Arugula, or of the summer, arugula, baby red Russian kale, cucumbers, and okra. Now, obviously, there's tons of other crops that are kind of in that intermediate in between. things like our Turkish Delight eggplant, they've been really great. They haven't been like gangbusters. They sell okay, like they sell fine, and relatively disease free, but nothing to say it's like showstopper at the top of our winners list. All right. Lastly, let's get into our losers. So, on the losers list, most of these things have nothing to do with the plant themselves and has everything to do with me. So, if anything, the losers is just me. I'm the loser of the summer, not these plants. I really shouldn't even be giving them any sort of blame, but yet here we are. I have to shift the blame onto somebody, something else, some other living creature just to make myself feel a little bit better. But the first one has been our slicing tomatoes. We grew 3 or 4 different varieties, and they started out so good, and then just due to poor management, not being able to stay on top of disease, probably planting them a little too close together, they just crapped the bed. I don't know what else to put it. They got hot, they stopped producing flowers, or the blight just completely succumbed, or just completely succumbed to the blight. And, so we had like 3 weeks of amazing tomato harvests, and then they were just done, you know? All of these beds and a whole tunnel worth that just was totally dedicated to these slicing tomatoes, and this was gonna be like, our ticket to a super awesome summer all summer long. And, we got like 3 good weeks out of them, and then that was about it. And unfortunately, I didn't try and have a second succession. I put too much faith in these tomatoes that they were just going to ride out all summer long. Last year, our tomatoes did really great at the beginning of summer, totally stopped in the heat of late July, August, and then sort of end of August into now as things started cooling off, they just took off again. And then we had amazing fall tomatoes. And so I was hoping we'd have the same this year, and it just was not the case. Most of them just the plants just completely succumbed to disease and or pests. Leaf-footed bugs and stink bugs were a huge issue this year. And yeah, they just completely succumbed to that, and we don't have much to show for. So that's our first one. Our second one on the losers list is our bell peppers and our sweet peppers. They, once again, I can chalk it up to one thing and one thing only: poor fertility. We had those in a new tunnel in a spot that we sort of rushed to get it going, to get it ready to go. I thought I did a decent enough job fertilizing those beds when we first made them, when we got the tunnel up. But apparently we didn't. We had some clear calcium, magnesium deficiency issues. We had a lot of like blossom end rot and things like that, that just essentially our entire first flush of peppers were just completely useless. And we really couldn't get a pepper all the way to that like red, fully ripe stage without it getting a bad spot or getting infested with something and getting a bite taken out of it. And so our bell peppers have been a big loser this year. One that started off as a huge winner and then turned into a huge loser has been our winter or our summer squash. My goodness. Our first 4 beds that we planted, 2 zucchini, 2 yellow squash, were wonderful. They were gangbusters. We had more than we could sell. We got to the point we couldn't even donate it all. I mean, it was just insane how much we had. And then one day the squash bugs found it. And once the squash bugs found it, its days were numbered, and we harvested those beds as long as we could. They babied them along. And in hindsight, I probably should have ripped them out sooner, and to just try and break that hatch cycle on the squash bugs. But unfortunately, we kind of turned that sad, limping along squash patch into a squash bug nursery. So that when we did our second succession of squash, they immediately migrated over and instantly took over. I think we harvested 1 week, and where we were harvesting, you know, 50, 75 pounds every time we went out there, we got like 3 pounds of zucchini, 2 pounds of yellow squash, and then the plants just completely died. And then unfortunately, those squash bugs leapt from those plants that were dying and succumbed to the disease from them. And they found the succession of cucumbers and they completely obliterated the last succession of cucumbers. But I think now I've sort of broken that hatch cycle, and we're going to do some cucumbers in the tunnel for the fall. And I think they're going to be amazing. And then the last sort of loser of the summer was a crop that we couldn't even really get to grow to give it the fighting chance to be a winner. And that has been our summer sown carrots. I know growers who only grow carrots in the fall/winter time. They don't even bother with the spring, and they definitely don't bother with the summer. But then, talk to other people and they grow carrots more or less year round, like they're planting all the time. And, there's techniques they talk about sowing and then soaking the beds and then tarping them and then pulling the tarps back and flame weeding and blah, 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 blah. And I tried all that sort of stuff. And no matter what I did, I could not get good germination on that bed. I'm having conversations with some of the other growers and like, oh no, man, like as long as you keep that bed wet, it'll be fine, even in the middle of summer. And like, yeah, we've been sowing carrots all summer long. So I'm like, all right, great. This magic ticket is to do less. It's great. Sow the carrots, put water on it. Don't tarp it. Just keep it wet. And like horrible germination. It's so bad. Whatever. And then finally now the temperatures have been cooling off. We've got 2 beds that we sowed in the last few weeks and they're both germinating decently well. And it looks like we will have some fall carrots. But yeah, summer carrots are no dice for us. We still have to figure out what it is. I don't know if it's just soil or water or seed or whatever, but man, we've probably flown through about 25,000 carrot seeds in multiple beds before we ever got to a bed that actually germinated. So, all right, folks, that has been our farm vlog update. Probably one of the longer ones. I had a lot I wanted to talk about. I'm not doing these as often now. I'm not doing one every month. It's kind of like every month and a half ish. And so I got a lot to get off my chest. But thank you guys so much for listening. I really love all of diehard regular listeners, those of you guys that reach out to me. It's so cool that I get to do this as a part of my, quote unquote job. Is just to talk farming with other people and to all you guys at home. So thank you guys so much. And just a reminder that, like I said at the top of the show, that we believe in value for value. So please consider a donation. You can attach a question or something to that donation at Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, and we would love to shout you out on the show or answer your question. And a huge thanks, as always, to Diego Footer and the whole team over at Modern Grower. None of this would be possible without you guys, both on the tool side of things, the kit that I have bought that you have provided me with, as well as just the opportunity and them saying like, we believe in you, go make the podcast. It's have fun. So huge thanks to all you guys for making this show possible. And I look forward to continuing this in the future. All right, everybody. Oh, and can't believe I almost forgot it. And if you do need those tools, if you need things like paper pot transplanters, which this is probably going to be my next big cool farm purchase at some point, the Jang seeder, huge game changer on our farm, Sumi soaker, landscape fabric, pre-cut landscape fabric to plant into, frost protection, quick hoops, microgreens trays. Is there anything that I've forgotten that's not on the list? Quick click seeder, so many amazing things. Microgreen seeds, all of these things are available over at Modern Grower. Diego and the crew over there have curated a very particular, very excellent list of tools that have been designed and sourced and offered that are of the highest quality and exactly what you need. You're not going to get any crap from them. Everything is super solid. And if you want to get that sort of stuff, you can go over to shop.moderngrower.co. You can pick up that kit, those soft goods, and the things that you need for your farm. Or you can go to my affiliate link down in the description and you can click on that and we will get a little bit of a percentage on every purchase that you do with Modern Grower. All right, I'm going to stop talking now. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of the Rookie Farmer Podcast. I have been your host, Alec Smith, and until next time, blessings and peace.